Hi, I'm Phil Kelsel. Over the years, I've been doing a lot of development work. I started working on web pages back in the early 90s, and I've used a variety of tools since then. And I tend to always come back to my favorite developing tool for web pages and web content, and that's Dreamweaver. I have used a variety of other tools like Brackets, Notepad++, and there's a number of them others out there. But I seem to always come back to Dreamweaver. And I just want to show you a couple of reasons why. So if you're getting into using Captivate and you come across some limitations within Captivate, you can often use a web object or make some web content inside of Dreamweaver or other tools and then bring it into Captivate. So I want to show you some of the reasons. I have a top 5 list of here's what I use Dreamweaver for, why I like Dreamweaver, and then at the end I'm going to show a bonus tip as well. So the first tip is going to be using the different views that you have. So if we take a look at what we have on the screen, here we have a web page and it's in the design view. So you can see at the top here in design view, and you can also see that I can change it so I'm in split view, and split view shows me the code at the bottom and the design up at the top, and I can go also to a completely code view. And so this is that web page that we were taking a look at. I'm going to go back to the design view, and right beside it you see a down arrow, and that will allow me to switch to live view. So this is what it's going to look like inside of a browser. And you see I can now click, you can see the animations, the buttons changing, and well, you can see you can only have 2 selected. So what's happening is it's randomly turning, seems to be the same ones over, and there we go, but it randomly turns off one of them. So if you have 3 buttons selected, one of them will randomly be turned off. And anyway, so I can now package this and put it inside of my Captivate project just by saving this as a zip file and then import it into a Captivate project. The number 4 reason is tag completion. And what I like about tag completion is that as I start to write a tag, Dreamweaver is going to finish the tag for me. For example, take a look at what we have here. This is a standard HTML file, and if I just press the enter key and I start to type in, and as I start to type in, you can see it's giving me some hints. So yes, I want a form, the ID on it. I'll press the enter key, we'll call it my form, and then I'm going to say the method for this, and I'm going to say post. I just press the letter P and I can press enter, and there it is. There's my form and it's completed. So it did a lot of the writing for me. And I tend to use a lot of JavaScript within my web pages as well. So if I was making a JavaScript file and or adding some JavaScript code, I'll put it up here at the top within the head tag. And so I'll just type in a script, and as soon as I get there, I'll say, do you want a script tag? Yes, I do. Space, L for language, and then I'll say J for JavaScript, and I press the enter key. There's my closing bracket, and it puts in the closing tag for me. So you can see how Dreamweaver starts to write the code and write the tags for me. So this is another good reason why I like it. It does it both for HTML, CSS, and also for JavaScript. Reason number 3 that I like Dreamweaver is because you have access to linked files. Take a look at what I have on the screen here. Here's a simple web page and a little bit of JavaScript that's built into it. But up at the very top, if we take a look at the bar at the top, you'll notice here that I have access to the CSS file. So if I click on that, I'll actually now get the CSS file down here. And then I can go in and make changes to the CSS file and then go back to the source code, and now I can make changes to the HTML file. If I had multiple CSS files, I'll actually see multiple files listed across the top. Plus, if I also had external JavaScript files, I would see those listed across the top. So having the one file open, I can then quickly get to any file that is linked to or associated with this file. Great time saver. Reason number 2 that I like Dreamweaver is because it has a built-in FTP client. So that means I can upload and download files while I'm inside of Dreamweaver. I don't have to go to an external program to do that. If you look at the screen here over on the right side, we have this panel called Files. And I can actually expand the Files panel by clicking on that expand icon. And I can actually click on the connect button, and this will connect me to my remote server. So now I have access to everything that's online. The down arrow allows me to select a file and download it. And so if I've made a mistake and I really butchered up a file, and rather than trying to undo it all, I might go to the file that's online and just download it and copy it over top. Or of course, then we have the up arrow, or the put action, where we will put the file online. So then while I'm working on the file, I can just put it online. Now the really nice thing is say for example I'm working on this file and I say add this written by Phil Council. I can save it by pressing Control S. Over here on the left hand side I can go ahead and put it. So even though I'm working inside of Dreamweaver, I can actually put the file online and I can just carry on and do my other work. So I like that ability to be able to put and retrieve files or get files while working within Dreamweaver, and I don't have to use an external program to do this. And my number one reason for using Dreamweaver is that they built in this thing called Emmet shortcuts, and it's really kind of neat. There's a few other programs that have this built in, but it was built into Dreamweaver a number of years ago. And every now and then, especially when I'm doing a lot of development, I'll start looking at some of these shortcuts, and it's a real time saver. Let me show you what it looks like. So we're going to start off by taking a look at this brand new file. So I've made a new document, HTML document. I can give it a title, so I'll call it test, and then I'll hit the create button, and it's made the file for us. And I'm going to switch over here to code view. This is what an HTML5 document looks like. Now, I just want to show you what the Emmet shortcut looks like. I'm going to delete all of this. I'm going to put in an exclamation mark, and then I'm going to press the tab key. And when I do that, it writes the HTML code for an HTML5 web page. And so now it's highlighted document, so I can say this is my title. And that's how easy it is to do. I'm going to go inside the body here. I'm going to put in a dot content, and then I'll press the tab key again. And now you see I have a div tag. The classification or the class name for it is content, and then the closing div tag. So now I can put all of my content in here. And do something like this. If I say UL, which is an unordered list, and then I'll say a line, and then I can put it in *5. And so that means I want to have like 5 lines within my unordered list. So I press the tab key, and it writes the code for me. It's very nice and very clean. So I say line 1, line 2, and so on. If I go into the design view, you'll see now that it's actually made the lines for me. You see the content being displayed inside here. We can also do things like, say I'll use the nav tag, put it in the greater than sign, unordered list, and then I'll say a line, and then I'll put in the number 6. Once I have that typed in, I press the tab key. So now you see I have the nav tag, so indicating that this is going to be where my navigation takes place. So I can create a CSS rule for my navigation, and then there's all the elements that I want for my navigation. So if I put in something like help me, and that's going to be my help file. I'm going to go into the design view. Here's a neat little thing. I'm just going to scroll down here, find a file. So like say for example index. I can highlight help me like this, come down to the property tag, and there's my link. I can use this little point to file, and I can point to that index file, and it writes the code for me on how to create a link to that file. Now because I'm using, I haven't saved the file, it's actually created an absolute file reference, but as soon as I save this file, that'll be changed to a relative link. And this can be very handy when you need to jump out of a file or out of a particular folder, move over to another folder, and jump down several subfolders. You might not always get the syntax correct when you have to put in these double dots and dashes and so forth. So pointing to the file will actually write the code for you, and you know it's going to work. So that's always kind of handy. And here's the bonus tip, and this is something that I have to use an older version of Dreamweaver to do, and this was the version of Dreamweaver I'm using right now is from 2015. And I've got a file open right now. If you look at the screen, and I've got the I'm in a split view, but you'll notice up here that there's this little bar, and this is an address bar, and it just has unsaved document because I'm not working with a document right now. So I'm going to close off this file, and I want to show you what you can do. You can actually put in a URL address. So here I have docs.emmet.io. So in my previous tip, I was talking about this Emmet shortcut, and if you go to this website, you can get more information about it, and they have a cheat sheet that you can download, so you can learn all or have access to all the shortcuts for CSS, JavaScript, and HTML. Very handy website to go to. But what I've done is I put this in the address bar, so now I can see inside of Dreamweaver, here is the actual browser, or here's the content that is acting like a browser. And I can also, if you notice up here at the top left corner, I have now access to their style sheets. So there's main.css, and there's the style sheet for that, and there's ga.javascript, main.javascript, and so forth. So I have access now to all of the code that makes up this particular page. And to me, it's very handy to have something like that, because if I'm looking at how do I do something, or how is a client of mine, how do they do something, and I want to maintain the look and the design, I can actually take a look at the code very quickly and using Dreamweaver, and work within Dreamweaver, and to be able to use those elements inside of the new project. So it's a neat little thing to see how things are done. It's good for education and training to figure out and learn how to use HTML and JavaScript and CSS properly. And this is one neat little tool or feature inside of an older version of Dreamweaver that I'd like to use.